20 things a scout camp handed a boy for free in 1965, and modern camping has forgotten everyone. Not one costs more than a few dollars. Picture what forgetting looks like on a Saturday. A family pulls into a site with a truck bed full of equipment. By 4 in the afternoon, somebody has a blister. The cooler is a soup of gray water. The fire will not take because the wood is damp. And there is a gadget in the trunk for every one of those problems, and not one getting solved. They are not short of gear. They are short of 20 small things that used to be handed to an 11-year-old on his first weekend and expected of him by his second. I ran a scout troop in the North Woods for 35 years, and better than 400 boys came up through it. Not one ever came home hurt, and that was not luck and it was not equipment, because in those days we had none. It was a stack of plain skills that cost nothing, and I watched them stop being taught. One camp at a time, one busy father at a time, until a whole country owned fine kit and knew almost nothing to do with it. So here is what I'm going to do. 20 of them, counting down, and the last matters more than the other 19 put together. For each one, I will tell you how it is done and where it turns on you if you get it wrong, because the people selling you the modern replacement never tell you how their thing fails. Nothing here is clever, and that is the point. Let us start. 20 is so small you will laugh until the first summer it saves you a week of misery. Tuck your trouser legs into your socks. That is it. A tick climbs up, never down, hunting bare skin at the ankle, so tucking turns your leg into a wall it cannot get under. Light-colored trousers help too because you can see the thing on the cloth before it reaches skin. And if one does latch on, you do not burn it, you do not grease it, and you do not twist it. Fine tweezers close against the skin, pull straight up, slow and steady. 19 saves you fuel, time, and a good deal of temper. Put a lid on the pot. That is the whole of it. An open pot lets your heat walk off as steam, so the water takes twice as long and burns twice the fuel. A lid, even a flat rock or a square of foil, holds that heat where it belongs. Out there, your fuel is your own back and your daylight, and the old cooks never let a pot sit open. 18 is the camp refrigerator, and it costs nothing. A cold running creek holds near enough the same chill all day, and moving water will beat a cooler that went to soup by noon. So butter and eggs go into a sealed jar and get wedged among the rocks, where the current cannot carry them off. Tie it to a root, mind you, and 2 cautions. Nothing that would foul the water if the seal failed, and nothing left so long you forget it, because a creek rises overnight after rain and takes your supper. 17 is how a boy found north before anything in his pocket told him. The shadow stick. Push a straight stick into open ground in the sun and mark the tip of its shadow with a pebble. Wait 15 or 20 minutes and mark where the tip crept to. The line between those pebbles runs close to east and west, because a shadow crawls the opposite way the sun travels. First mark on your left, second on your right, and you are facing near enough north. It is not a satellite, and I will not pretend it is perfect, but on a strange ridge with a dead phone, 2 pebbles keep you walking straight instead of circling all afternoon. 16 lets you read tomorrow off tonight's sky. Step out after dark, and if you see a wide, pale ring drawn round the moon, you can about bet on rain or snow inside the day. That ring is moonlight coming through a thin, high veil of ice cloud, and that veil is the leading edge of a front sliding in at you. The old-timers said a ring around the moon means rain soon, and when the weather people checked the saying against their records, they found the old-timers right far more often than not, especially in the cooler months. So you see that ring, you stake the tent down tight and get the firewood under cover before you turn in. 15 is not glamorous, and it is the difference between a clean camp and a sick one. The cat hole. You walk 200 feet from any creek or lake. about 70 big steps, and well off the trail besides. Dig down 6 to 8 inches. Do your business. Bury it over complete. 200 feet, because that is the stretch of soil it takes to keep what you leave behind out of the water everybody downstream is drinking. The old camps did it on instinct. The Park Service hands you the same rule today, right down to the inch. 14 kept more of my boys walking than any blister kit I carried. 2 pairs of socks, a thin liner against the skin and a thicker wool sock over it. Understand why? Because the why is what makes a man do it. A blister does not come from walking. It comes from your skin being rubbed by your sock, mile after mile. Put 2 socks on, and now the socks rub each other instead of you. And the rule that goes with it, the one I made them say back to me, the moment you feel a hot spot, you stop. Not at the top of the hill. That minute, boot off, cover it. A hot spot is a warning. A blister is the bill for ignoring it. 13 is a safety rule they drilled so hard, a boy never lost it, and it vanished when the axes did. The blood circle. Before you swing an axe or open a big blade, put your arm straight out and turn yourself 1 slow, full circle. Anything the blade can reach, a person, a dog, a tent line, your own knee is inside that circle, and nothing living had better be in it. 3 seconds. They taught it to 11-year-olds because a slip out there is a long way from a hospital. Most camps do not hand a boy an axe now, so nobody teaches the circle, and grown men swing tools in crowded sites having never heard of it. 12 keeps fire in your pocket when everything else is soaked. Waxed matches. Dip the head of each strike anywhere match in melted candle wax and let it set hard. The wax seals it against damp and scrapes off under your thumbnail when you strike. Keep the lot in a tin with a tight lid and the strikers strip in with them. A wet match is a little stick. A waxed match out of a sealed tin will light after a full day of rain that ruined everybody else's evening. This one left the teaching because lighters got cheap. And lighters are fine until one gets soaked or the fuel goes lazy in the cold, or you find you have been sitting on the lever all weekend. Now, if you have got a use for any of this, tap the like button. That is the whole ask, and it takes a second, and it is what puts this in front of the next fellow who never got handed any of it. Then stay with me, because from here down these stop being conveniences and start being the ones that decide how a bad day ends. 11 is the tinder that laughs at rain. Birch bark. That papery bark peeling off a birch in thin curls is so full of natural oil it catches a flame while soaking wet. At the exact moment every other scrap of tinder has quit on you. You take only the loose, already shedding bark, and you never strip a living tree. Scrape a handful into a fluff with the back of your knife, and it takes a spark like it was made for it. 10 is the other half of that answer. Fatwood. When an old pine dies, the sap settles into the stump and the knots where branches met the trunk, and over years it soaks that wood through with resin until it is near waterproof. Split into an old pine stump, and the wood that smells strong of turpentine and feels almost greasy is your fatwood. Shave it into curls, and it lights fast and burns hot and steady. Wind or wet be hanged, because what you are lighting is the resin and not the wood. The camp store sells the same stuff at $1 a stick. The woods give it free. 9 is how you pull dry tinder out of soaking wood, and it separates a warm camp from a long, cold sulk. The feather stick. Take a dead stick, finger thick, and split it to the heart, because the inside stays dry when the outside is soaked. Then shave that dry inner wood into thin curling ribbons over and over in the same spot until you have a fat head of curls still hanging off the stick. Fine curls catch where a wet branch never will, and the stick carries the flame up into your kindling. Make 2 or 3, and if you use a fire steel, strike it with the spine of the blade, never the cutting edge, because the edge is for cutting, and you do not spend it throwing sparks. 8 is the one almost nobody does now, and it makes every other blade trick work. Keep the knife sharp, and hear this first, because it runs against what most people guess. The dull knife is the dangerous one. A sharp blade bites where you set it. A dull one skates off and slides into your thumb. And because you are shoving harder to make it cut, when it slips hard. A smooth, flat river stone, wetted, will put an edge back on, and so will the unglazed ring on the bottom of a coffee mug. Lay the blade at about the angle of 2 coins stacked under the spine. Push it across like you mean to shave a slice off the top, edge first, away from you, same count of strokes each side. A dozen aside and you are cutting paper again. 7 doubles the warmth of your fire without burning an extra stick, the reflector wall. A campfire throws heat every direction, which means half of it is warming the empty woods behind it. So you stack a wall on the far side, green logs or dry stone, knee-high, and it turns that wasted half back at you. Sit between the fire and that wall and you feel it straight off, warm on both sides instead of roasted in front and frozen behind. And here is the warning, because it is real. Never build it from wet or rounded rocks out of a creek bed. Water trapped in a porous stone turns to steam as it heats, and the stone can crack apart and throw scalding pieces across a camp, and your eyes are sitting right there. Dry stone off high ground, or green logs, and nothing else. Before we get to the top 5, do the second thing for me and subscribe. There is a whole shelf of this kind of knowing that used to pass down from a father or an uncle or an old scoutmaster, and it mostly stopped passing, and I am working back through it one video at a time. One tap and the next one finds you on its own. Now, the 5 that decide the trip. 6 is the trick that taught a generation what warmth actually is. Dead air. On a cold night you stuff dry leaves or crumpled paper between your layers and under your jacket. It looks foolish and it works. Here is why. The warmth is not in the cloth and not in the paper. It is in the thousands of little pockets of still air you trapped against your body, because still air is one of the finest insulators there is. That is the entire secret of every warm thing you own. The dearest down coat in that shop is a tidy way of trapping the same dead air a fistful of leaves gives you for nothing. 5 is a rule the old camps lived hard by, and the cold weather people have proved it right down to the fiber. Wool over cotton, always when the weather might turn. Cotton gets wet from rain or your own sweat, and it holds that water, quits insulating altogether, and starts pulling heat out of you. There is a hard little saying for it. Cotton kills. Wool does the opposite. A wool sock soaked clean through still traps warm air in its crimped fibers and keeps working while it dries. That is not folklore, that is measured. So the layer you trust in bad weather is wool or a good synthetic, and the cotton shirt is for a sunny afternoon when warmth is not on the line. 4 is the plainest lifesaver out there. Boil your water. That clear mountain stream looks like the purest thing ever made and can still carry something that will have you doubled over a long way from a bathroom, so you do not gamble. Hard rolling boil 1 full minute, 3 full minutes, above about 6,500 feet, because thinner air boils cooler and needs the extra time. Those are the public health numbers right to the minute. Cloudy water gets strained through a cloth first, because silt gets in the way of everything, and straining is not purifying. The same fire that cooks your supper cleans your water, which is why fire and water were never 2 lessons in the old camps. 3 could be the thing that gets you found. A whistle on a string around your neck, not a gadget, not an app. 3 hard blasts, wait, 3 more, because 3 of anything is the distress call the world over. And here is why it beats hollering. A shout carries a couple of 100 yards and wears your voice out inside 20 minutes. A whistle cuts through wind and trees far better and takes almost no breath. A lost child with a whistle keeps calling for hours. A lost child shouting goes hoarse and frightened in no time. Every boy in my troop wore one, and it cost about $1. Put one on every pack in the house tonight, the children first. 2 happens before you leave the house, and it has saved more people than everything else on this list put together. You leave word. You write down which trailhead, which route, where you mean to camp, and the day and hour you plan to walk back out, and you leave it with somebody who will raise the alarm if you do not turn up. It sounds too plain for a list like this. Go ask any search and rescue crew alive. The people they find quickly are the ones somebody knew to go looking for in the right patch of woods, starting on the right day. 5 minutes and a scrap of paper is the cheapest insurance in the outdoors. It fell out of the teaching because a phone in your pocket feels like it does the same job. It does not. Coverage ends, batteries die, and neither one tells anybody where you meant to be. And here is number 1. The one I would keep if I could keep only one, and it is not a technique at all. It is what you put underneath you when you sleep. Never lie down on bare ground. Build a bed first. A thick mattress of dry leaves, a pile of dead grass, a folded blanket, a foam pad, anything that puts trapped air between your body and the dirt. Listen close here, because nearly every cold and miserable night anybody spends outdoors comes back to this one mistake. You can own the warmest bag money ever bought, and if you lay it straight on cold ground, that ground pulls heat out of your back all night. Soil carries heat away many times faster than air does, and on a clear night, the ground sheds its own heat to the sky and ends up colder than the air above it. That is why you get frost on the grass. On a morning, the thermometer never went below freezing. And here is the part that finishes the argument. Your sleeping bag is not working underneath you at all. A bag keeps you warm by loft, by all that filling, standing fat and holding still air, and everywhere your weight presses, that loft crushes flat. Under your shoulder, under your hip, it is 2 thin layers of fabric and nothing else. So the most expensive part of your kit quits working at exactly the spot where the cold comes in hardest. What you put on top of you means very little. What you put underneath you means everything. Now look back up the list and see what it was all for. The dead air at 6, the wool at 5, the reflector wall at 7, the lid on the pot at 19. Everyone is the same job wearing different clothes, which is keeping heat where it belongs, and the wet and the cold where they cannot reach it. And that whole sleeping pad aisle, every rating on every tag, is built on the one plain fact a scout in 1965 knew with a rake and a pile of leaves. That is the one they stopped teaching hardest of all, because you cannot sell a pile of leaves. So here is my last ask. Hit the notification bell, because that is the only one of the 3 that actually brings you the next video. Then leave a comment and tell me which of these 20 you were taught and who taught it. A father, an uncle, a scoutmaster at some lake long ago. I read every one, and now and again one of you hands me back a trick my own scoutmaster never knew. I want to leave you with what I told every boy on his first night, standing out there in the dark before the fire was lit. The gear in your pack is what somebody sold you. What is in your head is what somebody gave you. Only one of the 2 is still working at 4 in the morning when the batteries are dead and the rain has come in. Nothing here was hidden from you, and that is the sad part. It stopped getting handed along, one camp at a time, one shelf of shiny boxes at a time, until being cold and wet and sore became something a person believed he could buy his way out of. He cannot. Pick one of these 20 and do it in the backyard this weekend, where it is easy and nothing is riding on it, until your hands know it without thinking. Then put it in a child's hands, because that is the only way any of this ever traveled. Next time I want to show you the old way of reading weather off the evening sky in full, so you know what is coming while you still have daylight to get ready. No app, no signal, no forecast. Just what the clouds and the wind and the smoke off your own fire will tell a man who was taught what to look at. I will see you there.